Chili is the trusted partner for pairing, matching, and data enrichment, helping companies hire better talent faster. Chili help recruiters connect candidates with jobs by enhancing the candidate experience, simplifying the hiring process, reducing hiring costs, and saving time and money. For more information, visit www.rchili.com.
What great ideas are so close within your grasp? Seeing other points of view, anticipating change, considering multiple possible turnouts, acknowledging uncertainty, searching for compromise. We're going to talk about how to get over those limiters of innovation so that you can extract better thinking from yourself and your team. So let's talk about how to win the future.
Every now and then, you meet someone who doesn't just imagine the future, they build it. Benn Klewpatinond is one of those people, a designer, engineer, and inventor whose creations blur the line between technology and humanity. From rethinking the rowing machine with his FloatRower invention to shaping inclusive, purpose-driven products through his company INOND, Benn's work is all about empathy, innovation, and impact. In this episode, we dive into the mind of a modern inventor, where ideas come from, how they take shape, and what it really means to design for everyone. Welcome back, everybody. I'm joined by Benn Klewpatinond. Ben, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, James.
It's one of the things we talked about this quite a few times, right? Trying to kind of get you onto here, and finally we kind of sat down with you. It's interesting. I wanted to talk to you because we've met on several occasions at different events, and there are lots of different kind of personalities at all these kind of events. We kind of in this advanced engineering space that we kind of seem to end up inhabiting. You more than me. I'm in no way. I'm but a lowly marketeer. You actually live and breathe all this stuff. But is it right? Could I describe you as an inventor? Can I describe you as an inventor?
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Yeah, because I think we've never had one on the podcast before, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, no. And I was kind of I've looked through all the kind of the things you've kind of invented and then built and engineered and created, and it was like, yeah, because I don't think you use that term yourself, though, right?
I don't know why, but
because you have invented stuff.
I have
right?
invented stuff. I've got my names on patents and around the world and stuff. But I don't know. Maybe there's just this stigma behind. Stereotypical guy in a shed inventing something.
But you kind of do have a bit of a big shed, right? As well.
We do have a big shed in the workshop now that we've got. But so inventing loads of different things.
Yeah. Maybe you can give us a bit of your kind of background, right? Kind of where you started and how you got to where you are today, because that would kind of give some real kind of context to the stuff that you have kind of invented.
Yeah. As I am now an inventor.
You are an inventor,
So go right back to education. I have always been involved in art or design. So product design all the way through from GCSEs, A-levels, probably one of those rarities nowadays that actually does what they studied at school to university, did a master's, left university and went straight into a job with a production company who are producing, manufacturing injection molding parts.
Mm-hmm.
Then into the bathroom industry in a corporate environment, developing bathroom products, taps, showers. Doesn't sound sexy and exciting, but
someone's got to do it though, right?
Someone's got to do it.
This stuff needs inventing. Someone
does. And developing.
And designing, right?
Designing, developing, whether it's the look of it, the engineering behind it, but also looking at new technology that comes into those spaces as well. So that was a big company called Bristan, who was part of a multi-billion-dollar American company called Masco. So I was able to have the opportunity to travel around the world as well to all the different other businesses, so Delta Faucets, Hansgrohe in Germany, and lots of different companies, all part of the same group.
Mm-hmm.
So that really gave an opportunity to kind of explore where and what I wanted to design and was interested in. So even there is looking at the tech that's involved. You know, we started looking at digital showers when they first started to become popularized, if you like, and how do we invent or develop something that
you're going to use invent now all the time now.
Invent is going to, you'll check my LinkedIn later, inventor, just that's all it says. So looking at other technology that you can integrate into what would normally see as like a mundane kind of context or industry as well at the time, and make sure something is usable and friendly.
Okay.
As well for
With a shower, would that be like Bluetooth and a speaker, right?
But that's what you.
Surely that's
But that's the difference, isn't it, between like the invention side on the adding features,
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
adding
yeah, of
bells
course.
and whistles to something just to add extra. Whereas how often, it's always the thing I say to people is like your multi-shower handset and like your remote control with all the buttons. Like how often do you actually change any of that? You don't.
Yeah.
You put it to one setting, you leave it there until you need to clean it or something, right? But it's all those extra things that you could have in it, but do you actually need it? And this comes down to something that we do now, which I'll go into later when we're talking, but it's about purpose.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that we've done in the past in the bathroom industry, I actually invented a walk-in bath. Does, again, one of those things that you wouldn't think would be incredibly exciting to work on, but the context behind it was that we take a lot of things for granted, where I could just step in the bath and do what I need to do. But back then, this is probably going back to many, many years ago now, of looking at people and how people use products properly, and whether you're you have limbs or you don't have limbs, you can't move things depending on what age you are, or you have a degenerative condition or anything like that, is how do you look at that person? What do they need? And how
that kind of inclusivity runs through a lot of your work, right, as well now, right? And I know we'll get around to that. This is kind of take you on your travels as well, because I know you tend to just kind of drop in. I did this in Korea, or I did this, you know what I mean? Tend to that kind of. So this allowed you generally also to kind of do a lot of kind of traveling, and is that because you wanted to go to these places and you found kind of work there, or you were actually invited to kind of like these places?
From a work perspective, it was invited, but also they are part of a multinational back then company. But I'm half Thai, half Scottish, and I know there's 4 of us in the world, so I've already got this kind of international kind of presence about me, when my family is all around the world. So the world has then become smaller for me. I see it very small because I'm used to traveling to Thailand every year, for example, since I was like 5 or 6 when I came over here to the UK. So for me, it doesn't seem like a barrier to kind of explore those opportunities. So if the industry that I work for, the company I work for, has those, of course I'll go and explore that.
This is a completely kind of off question that I've just thought of while you've been talking. You obviously, you said you're half Thai. What is the kind of what is the advanced engineering and kind of the space that you work in, like in Thailand? Is that something that you've kind of tapped into? Is there kind of, what does that look like out in? Because I think as a kind of white Westerner, we simply think that everything is invented in Europe and America, right? You know, that it doesn't actually, or South Korea, or so, you know what I mean, right? Everything that's what we kind of think, or maybe back in the 80s it was Japan, or you know what I mean,
Taiwan.
Exactly, or Taiwan. But I know from the work that we do, just in kind of marketing, I know that Vietnam, the Philippines, Thailand, these are kind of places now that are kind of rising in the world of kind of, if you just want to kind of experienced, smart people, right? And you want to outsource it, right? Those are the kind of new places to outsource. So I am assuming, right, that the kind of education system out there must be pretty good now, and the fact that, you know, there must be kind of equivalents, you know, the things that you do out there. And do you have any access to that, or do you have any kind of oversight over that, or any insight into that?
Yeah, so I think if you go back, like when we came here to the UK, when I was about 5, to go into kind of formal education, because education system was better here than Thailand at the time. Whereas that has advanced, that's changed. So exactly what you just said, that has all evolved, and there is so much more happening over in Southeast Asia that you would not know was happening unless you go on the ground and go, wow, okay, it's not just the holiday destination, it's not just the sandy beaches, etc. There's literally, manufacturing is one of the largest parts of the industries in Thailand, and there's a lot of investment going on now with just outside Bangkok as well, with the economic corridor, the Eastern Economic Corridor that they've got there is Bridgestone has one of their biggest factories in the world there. You know, you wouldn't know, but there's 2,000 employees there working, making tires. There's so much happening, so much connection happening as well with regards to going up to China. So they're connecting all of the different areas, so to help with the manufacturing. And we all know that there's labor, there's skilled labor, but it's finding it and holding on to it. The same problems that everywhere has, but it's potentially more affordable. because the cost of living is lower.
Yeah.
But there's still manufacturing. It's not heavy on service based, like you're saying, like in America or Europe. There's a lot heavy on service based industries. Hence what we know now with everything that's happening with China, tariffs, etc. They've built the manufacturing systems behind that to be able to now control that and do things more affordably.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's good to know. It's not an area that I kind of know too much about. And as I said, there are these kind of misconceptions, I guess, around that part of the world when it comes to kind of how it working in the areas that you kind of work. I want to come on to the thing that I think that some people probably know you about, which is the FloatRower, right? Which is something you did invent, right?
I did invent.
You did invent that. You actually invented it. Our audience, I think, would love to know more about how that goes from an idea, probably on a napkin or whatever it was, in a through to an actual kind of something that's being produced en masse and that can be kind of used by people on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah.
What does that invention process look like?
Wow, how long have we got? No.
So where did it start? Okay, where did the idea? There must be a point where it's like, there's a problem here, or something I want to fix.
Just from that example, I've got an advantage as well, right? Because I'm an inventor, and having been in the bathroom industry and working for big corporate, if you like, moving on to then a design consultancy role, I was then working at a consultancy for longer than I was at a corporate, thinking I wanted to work on lots of different products. So I was then exposed to lots of different industries, not just the bathroom industry and that world. So then starting to work on EV, lab equipment, then started to look at sport. And back then, yes, we did have, I'll do the name drops.
Go for it.
So Lewis Hamilton's dad, Anthony Hamilton, came into the consultancy one day with an idea to develop something for Formula One and drivers.
Yeah.
So we started to work on all of that, which was great, but there was already stuff existing in the market. We started looking at other sports. We developed a football product. We developed another thing for F1, which went on camera, where an info wing with displays on, which was great. Stuff for go-karting, a football product to help kids with developing their skill sets, training, ball mastery skills. It's all about self-improvement and being the best they can be from a sports perspective, which aligned perfectly with their brand as well. And I've rode since I was about 18 when I went to uni. So that's where I've got the advantage, is I've got the ability to do and make something and how to design it or invent it, and also have the ability to understand from the sport or the product's perspective what I need from that. So what is it that I want to create? How can I create it? Can I do it together? They all come together, and also enjoy doing it at the same time. So when I was at the consultancy, I came up with the idea and said, what do you think about this? Because this is what happens when we can't row on water. It's foggy, icy, whatever. All the stuff on land is just back and forth, static. So it doesn't replicate what really happens on water. So the FloatRower, then the concept happened was that it could be a simulation, not a simulator, but a simulation or kind of have that feeling of being on water but on dry land. So the whole machine basically moved up and down as you sat on it, rolled side to side as well. And I put dual resistance on it, and that dual resistance then meant you could steer the boat, in inverted commas, and graphically as well, with what we then eventually developed into the software. So it became gamified as well, became more engaging. You weren't just looking at some numbers that most people don't understand what they are. And when we first came up with the idea, I was heavy into rowing. I went to Henley. We did heavily into training as well, like probably before kids, so I had a lot more time. So you could then train on it, but we were targeting the kind of elite and rowers. That's a very small market. Right. So as you then start to develop the product, was how do we then make this viable, rather than it being a one-off that we just have ourselves in our rowing club. So from the beginning, it's having that idea, but then starting to prove it from a proof of concept and building the rigs. So I'm saying it floated up and down, rolled side to side, but it's not so quick that you can do it. Which way do you do it? And the quickest and easiest way for us was use existing devices or machines, equipment, make those float and roll.
Yep.
How do we do that? Look at the mechanisms behind them to get the feeling. You could use a stereotypical thing of, oh yeah, we could float it on water. We tried.
Yeah.
Didn't feel right because it's very different to having a river or a lake.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah.
So you go through all those iterations.
So was that a situation where you actually got boats and you put them onto a rig of kind of sorts? Is that kind of the process you were going through?
Not so much boats, but I did do that with boats to know how much they actually went up and down or deflected in the water.
Yeah.
Because if you go in a boat, if I go in a boat and it's the same boat, it's going to go up and down differently because of our mass.
Yeah.
And also our size, a distribution of our weight in the boat. So we did some experiments as well, with crude as well, just to get stuff quickly done so you can actually prove it to see if it's feasible to replicate onto something on dry land.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just measuring how high the boats move up and down for different people, different size boats, because they're all weighted for different weights as well. So it all flows and goes through the water better or more smoothly. But take that learning and put it onto the machine. How much do we need to make it go up and down? Then how do we create rigs to make the rail and the person move up and down while still being safe and secure on land and not feel like you're going to fall off all the time, which happened during testing.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm sure.
But that's the part of the fun of it, right? You know what I mean? You're going to have that.
For everyone else watching you.
Yeah. So that's kind of like how you come up with a concept, and you were building your kind of your MVP kind of thing, right? As we might say in the tech space, right? That's how you kind of got your, how did you then move that to something that the next stage?
Yeah, so I think that's the different bit between the tech stage and the physical product as well, because ours is really a lot of physical product design.
Yeah,
is the proof of concept, is you're proving the thing works. The theory of what you've come up with is actually going to work. So you're proving that concept, how whatever it looks like, it mechanically works.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we got it to float. We got it to roll. Then you move.
And part of that is you have like a plan, right? I mean, I'm sure you do have a plan, but is there like kind of the stages? You get to that bit. Part of the product design, and it's like we failed that. Go back 2 steps and start again. I assume it's a very methodical kind of process that you kind of go through.
Yeah, it is on paper.
Yeah,
and all the time it's very iterative as well. So from a design thinking perspective, you can keep going around, almost like in a loop. Yeah, almost like agile if you're talking from the tech space as well. So you're doing small sets and keep going around, testing, proving, empathizing, ideating, testing, all of these all the way around, whichever order, so that then you can actually discover something, define it, and then develop from that. And within all of these stages, you're doing a similar thing with the design thinking, whatever the output is. And
we will move on to the next bit. During this process, were you the only rower that was involved? Did you have other rowers kind of lots of input? And it's like, because I know from the tech space, it is very, you can build something very quickly and you get users, right, to beta test it. Yeah. And what I've seen happen is you can get dragged in all kinds of different directions because they will have different needs. And I guess that possibly is a similar thing. If you've got different rowers, all want slightly different things from it. And how do you cancel out the noise as the kind of inventor, and do you just need to be so pig-headed and say, look, this is the way it's going to work. And, your input is thank you, but no thank you. Or do you generally have to generally listen to and generally made changes based on that kind of feedback? How did that work?
Both.
Okay.
Because there's a level of expertise that you have that you need to hold on to as well, because just because someone else doesn't agree with that, but actually you need to hold on to certain elements that are factual or matter of fact. They exist because they are. Whereas you need to also go to the others and empathize with what is it that they need. Particularly in any product that you're designing, it's all about people. Mm-hmm. You're not designing for one, you're designing for everyone. And that's something that I've kind of evolved over time, particularly with INOND now. Yeah. Is, okay, James, you've got a great idea for you. And you might design it for you.
Yes.
And I was saying to someone the other week, I said, we're not artists. We're not just designing a one-off bespoke piece.
Yeah.
We're looking at commercially viable products that could go to market that are for masses or more people than just yourself. Your idea could be here, but actually the opportunity for yours could be all the way over here in this other industry or this other sector or this market. If we just change something, is then if we can empathize with more people and understand who they are, what they are, where they come from, or how they think, or what drives them, and what it is that they need, how do they need it, answer all of these different questions and be inquisitive and curious about it, that actually your idea, it might be great for James, but actually we just need to change one little thing of that actually more people would be able to use it or want it. And it becomes more desirable for them rather than just desirable for yourself or as an individual. So from the rowing perspective, yes, initially I was the only rower at the business. I had a whole rowing club lined up ready to use as well, and 2 other rowing clubs that I've, locally from Milton Keynes, Bedford, Northampton. So it became very easy for me to kind of bring a unit over to the rowing club, and I had queues of people ready to try because it's something new, something different in a market that wasn't really changing so much, particularly from the rowers perspective.
Well, everyone will know a rowing machine, right? Every gym in the world has got a variation on the rowing machine, whether it's got a big fan at the front or it go through water or something like that, right? And I guess it's important to say that it's not. You didn't design the rowing machine with the water at the front, right? You know what I mean? It's not that, because I think that's possibly what some people might think, right? Because they will have seen those. It's not that. This is something way more sophisticated, right?
And that's part of the testing from that early stage, is testing water versus air.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about air and water, they move very similarly, right, from a fluid dynamics perspective. But when you've got a big body of water compared to a bucket of water, it moves very differently. So when you're bringing fresh air into the resistance mechanism or the damper, it's fresh air coming in and the blown air going out somewhere else. So it's doing something different rather than spinning.
It's that whole F1 thing around clean air, right? I guess, isn't it? Right? Yeah, that's the what. If any F1 kind of fans, when they're talking about clean air and dirty air, right? It's that same kind of principle, right? It's kind of much more predictable airflow over whatever is pumped out the back, which is just going all over the place, basically.
But also that air that's coming in, say for example in the FloatRower, it was coming in from the side, and we actually changed. I developed another way of opening and closing, which is more like an iris, like a camera. Right. So actually, it became a bigger opening as you adjusted the damper, so more air could get through, which added more resistance. And what that did was we had then this kind of flow of almost like laminar or straight air coming in through the hole in the middle and then being blown out the sides. That air that's going out the sides takes a while for it to come back round again. And so you've got this almost, to a certain extent, air that's not moving, being pulled in, versus air that's already moving quite fast. So I know people have seen all the Dyson adverts. It's almost like looking at one of those and how that works. But if you're thinking about water swirling round, you're already trying to accelerate water that's moving. That doesn't happen in a river. You're kind of putting your oar in the water and you're levering the boat. That doesn't actually move. And that's the misconception. A lot of people think that you're pushing the water. You're not. You're putting it in the water, and that's almost like an anchor. And the boat moves underneath you.
Yes.
And you're kind of levering it. So it's trying to replicate that feeling at the same time, without making it too difficult to use.
Without having it just basically putting a boat in a swimming pool, basically. You need
like a massive space to kind of fit one machine in. And that's the trick of it as well, is to make sure you can kind of make it something that could be usable.
So where did that go next? So we've discussed kind of like, the process you've gone through, the kind of conception, the testing, for everybody who might not have heard of the FloatRower now, what was the kind of end result? Is it, how many gyms are we sitting in now? That kind of thing, right?
So at the time, we weren't ready for, this is all still being developed during COVID and the pandemic. So I was at the consultancy, and I then split out from the consultancy to see if we could develop this as a proper project and business in 2018. So we weren't ready yet. We weren't the Pelotons of the world to sell it to everybody at home, which was fine because then we were targeting commercial rather than the rowers. Like I said earlier, that small market, which was good for us because then when we came out of the pandemic and the gyms all opened again, they wanted something innovative, something new, something that will keep members. So the massive thing with that industry is membership or member retention. You know, I'm sure all of us have been there where we've had
as a gym goer, I know I change gyms constantly, basically. Yeah.
Or you've got a membership running that you haven't utilized
Yeah.
properly. How do you get people back in? Because we all wanted to go back and have that social element, which was fantastic because it's people. We weren't just at home on you know, screens, etc. So how do we keep people? What's innovative? So we managed to reach out to David Lloyd. We thought, let's go big.
Yep.
Let's go to one of the biggest high-end
course.
ones in the country. And yeah, we basically, off the back of the Olympics being moved as well in 2021, managed to develop a program so we could launch into David Lloyd clubs in September 2021 for a 3-month trial. And I say it to a lot of people, it's you don't take a toy away from a child who's still playing with it, right? All hell will break loose.
Yep.
I've got 3 small kids, and I know that if, you know, they're not finished, just let them finish, and then we can take it away. Same with gym equipment. People have specific things that they want to use, almost like your old bar stool in the pub is like, that's Jim, so he sits on that. So what was great about that was it was a 3-month trial, which became continuous. And they then started to want pre-orders for when we were ready to go to mass production. So at the time we were in pre-production stage. So we'd already done the proof of concept, prototyped it, look, feel like working prototypes, then got to pre-production. So that basically was sellable once we got to mass production. So we basically got it into David Lloyd clubs. We're tracking all of the usage, which was great because we could connect to them remotely because all the machines could actually talk to each other as well. So long term, we were going to be able to race against each other as well in different locations. So we launched it into 4 different clubs around the UK. I taught like over 25 of their staff and gym floor members how to row. Integrated it into their app as well. So we developed a gym floor class. So it got people involved and engaged rather than it just being, here you go, here's your product. They'll go stick it in a corner and no one engages with it. So,
it's one of those things that people would look at and it's like, that looks complicated. I don't want to go to it. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
So what I wanted to try and do was to kind of ease into that, teach people as well. Yes, about rowing. I was working with British Rowing at the time as well. And how could we kind of teach people about rowing and get them involved in rowing? And if they liked it, where do they go next? Right, they can go find a rowing club. You know, off the back of the Olympics or Henley, you always see a big spike in engagement. But if people tried it, where could they go? So I basically wanted to kind of smoothen out that process, or onboarding, if you like, to rowing. You know, everyone knows it's a great full body workout, but how do we make it more accessible? How do we make it less scary? Like you're saying, I don't want that. Looks like a torture machine, which so many people have told me over the years, and get them on the machine and enjoy doing it so they come back. And what happened, because we were tracking all the usage, yes, there was a massive spike at the beginning, thinking, oh, what's this blue, shiny, brand new thing? Spike, but then it plateaued. It didn't keep dropping. It plateaued at a good user level, which was positive because as the trials continued, it stayed and it was a consistent usage of equipment. And that also helped because we integrated into the app and kind of got it involved in the business. Some of the personal trainers were then getting their own PT sessions booked off the back of them teaching these gym floor classes. So you then start to look at the benefit to the other business that you're launching a product into as well. What are those extra
those added value stuff.
That comes off the back of that product. Had it been stuck in the corner, usage would have been low. PTs wouldn't have been talking about it. They would have not got extra classes. The business is not getting extra revenue off the back of that. Over a certain number of years, maybe it would have paid for itself off the number of PT sessions that booked off of it. So we launched that. We were then ready to go to mass production. And in 2022, the markets after the pandemic were all over the place. So funding was just paused. And so we had to pause the project at David Lloyd. Then we did demo it in Pure Gyms as well, which was fantastic because obviously even bigger. Which it's all good because it was paused at the end of 2022. I say paused because the IP is all there. It's all ready to go. But I then didn't want to hang around. Like I could wait, but what next? Hence why then starting to
I guess
do my own thing.
Well, as an inventor, right? You get, I'm sure you get kind of you can't just spend all your time just on this one thing, right? And if it's done its thing, right? And if it could continue, it could blow up, right? It could kind of, but there's probably there's other things to other things to be solved, right, at this point, right? You know what I mean? Which comes on to INOND, and I wanted to kind of delve a little bit into that kind of inclusivity kind of aspect around that. And, you know, you talked a little bit about that earlier and where that maybe have kind of started, you know, but tell me how that relates to what you do now.
Mm-hmm. So go back 2 years, I guess, is just contracting again off the back of FloatRower finishing. I could have worked in a consultancy in London, and they realized, and I realized, I still had an itch to scratch of, I was running FloatRower, built a team behind us as well, working with other companies who had teams, but a little pool of contractors who were going to be part of the business had it kind of continued. And off the back of that, they all said, we'll work on the next projects with you. And so I was like, oh, obviously did something right. And what do I do about that? I could have had a team that we could have built something. So at the beginning of 2023, because I was connecting all the dots and working on this project, still doing a lot of things that you wouldn't kind of consider to be a, say, designer or engineer's role, was coming up with the term product realization, of saying, okay, we're not just designing something and giving it back to the client, whereas I'm helping people get those ideas all the way from the beginning, from their head to their hand, all the way through to helping them set up their manufacturing and supply chain, which was literally what I was doing with my old friend. And off that was thinking, well, the team that I'd built behind me with FloatRower previously, they all said when that finished, we'll work on the next projects with you. And so obviously did something right, as that, how do I then utilize that? All those relationships I'd built over the last, at that point, 16, 17 years, how do I leverage the relationships I've built now? Because I'm building my own thing, my own business. Previously, it's always been someone else's business, someone else's consultancy, or someone else is funding a project. This is me building something myself. I've obviously done something right in the past, start sharing what I'm doing. So off the back of that, started putting myself out there, you know, like we talked about earlier, like LinkedIn side of things, a need and a want scenario of, okay, I want to do it. I want to share, I want to show people what I can do from a credibility perspective, and I need to do it because that's going to help drive business and grow what I'm developing. And other people start seeing what you're doing, and people actually care. Surprisingly, people actually give, you know, they like seeing it and the journey. So started to share more vulnerable bits about activities that we're basically doing to start the business, and working on different projects, like you're saying earlier, like here, there, and everywhere. But it showed that the past was all coming back, if you like, as well. So people reaching out, like we mentioned South Korea earlier, is that came off an opportunity. I went to speak at an innovation event, competition in Daegu in South Korea, but that came off the back of my old professor from my Goldsmiths, my master's degree. There's like all these things happen. There's obviously do something about it. Build something off the back of that.
And what does the future look like then, right? Because we're gonna we're gonna kind of wrap up, but it's all, I always like to kind of understand, right, where is it going, right? You might not know, right? But you must have an idea of kind of what INOND looks like, you know, 5-10 years down the line, you know, the kind of things you'll be working on, the kind of things you want to be working on, you know, so there's slightly two different things, you know, how big the business is, where you want to be, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it's always like saying, do you know where you want to go? Everything changes, and that's what we kind of put into our projects as well. So off the back of the product realization thing, is realizing this is not just a transactional thing. Let's build the relationships with the clients. Do the same as what I'm doing with my suppliers, do the same with the clients, so we can build a long-term relationship. We could be their product development team. If they don't have one, particularly early stage founders who maybe 1, 2, 3 small teams or whatever. But we've been building a framework as well that utilizes existing concepts as well from processes, but developing it for us. And how do we break that down into smaller manageable stages for clients as well as ourselves to be transparent about what are we doing. The whole part of the last couple of years has been about teaching people as well, not just, cool, James, I'll go do that, great, on to the next one. It's actually teaching you about the process, teaching you about what we do, because particularly with creatives or from an engineering perspective, a lot of people don't understand what we do. because they can't they don't see it. A lot of things happen in our head.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thinking time. So how do we add value to that? How do we communicate that and be open with clients to know that, well, we need to do X, Y, and Z, so they understand the process and they'll come back because they know where their money's going or their investment is going, particularly if it's personal or they're going to have to go find their own funds or the business's funds if they're a business owner as well. So that has been a real powerful journey, and it's put me on stage as well, speaking at other events and doing workshops, also going back to kind of universities and sharing those journeys with students, and realizing that my own journey in the past is actually inspiring, I've been told. But until you actually look at it from the outside, I remember hearing a quote recently is that you can only see the label on the bottle when you're on the outside.
Right, yeah.
Right. And I was that. I'm inside, but that's my life.
Yep.
Privileged, yes, to a certain extent on a lot of those, like we said earlier about the international side of things. And I don't see that as a barrier, but that is a very privileged viewpoint that other people will never have those opportunities. So again, the empathy side is realizing that. How do we then kind of step back and look at it from my own perspective and other people's perspective? How do we kind of build the framework and the business around that and have those values that we have, or I have, and in the family into the business as well, that will also attract the same or similar type of people who also believe in those values, and or even if they don't show it or do anything about it, they still believe in those. And how can we help them drive those through their product development and business development as well, if they're starting out from scratch? So there's a massive thing about that from the empathy side and the people. It's all about people and purpose, and that's kind of our main focus as well. It all starts with people. It's like, who is it? Why are they doing it? Or why do they need it? Depending on which way you're looking at it. And we're all different. Like we said at the beginning, from the inclusivity side of things, is how do we design for all, rather than just like my own, it fits me perfectly, great, but still not stigmatizing and putting people in boxes, but it's something that's just been considered. And that's the main thing. That's what's really powerful. And that's what's happened a lot recently over the last year, is a lot of clients have realized that we actually care and also about them and where their investment is going, not saying, cool, we'll take your 20K, go do that, good luck. More a case of, actually, you could do this instead, or we should do this. And being more matter of fact about the whole process, so that they understand, like I said, where it's going, but we actually care about where their investment is going, and we're going to do a good job with it. And I think that's been really powerful, that we've seen them, and again, with the products side of things, it's kind of using the same thing, but in a different way. Right.
Ben, absolute pleasure. It's great to have an inventor on for the first time. If anybody wants to know more, we'll obviously include all of your details in the show notes. If people want to know more about what you do, they want to know more about FloatRower, they want to know, just follow you on LinkedIn or any other socials, we'll include that in the show notes so people can reach out. But Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. And don't forget, you can subscribe to the Marketing Rules podcast on Apple, Spotify, and all other major podcasting platforms. I've been your host, James Whitelock, and I hope you can join me and more amazing guests next time. The Marketing Rules podcast is a Thinking Circles production.